The room, right? The room.
Caltrans District 5.
Here.
Monterey Bay Air Resource District. Monterey Regional Airport District. Monterey Salinas Transit.
Here.
City of Watsonville. CSUMB. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Can we run through the folks who didn't respond the first time quickly? I think we unmuted in the middle of that. And I see
Okay.
a couple folks online waiting that they're here.
District 1 Supervisor Alejo.
Linda Gonzalez, alternate.
We had
Marina,
District, I'm sorry, City of Marina.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
perfect. All right, then with that, given the quickly approaching Veterans Day, I'm going to ask Mayor Oglesby to lead us in the pledge.
My honor, thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Try to join us with maybe 2049.
Pause. Make this.
I want to see if he's in the way.
Sure. Is Fernando Cabrera in the waiting room? Is there a waiting room?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open general public comments. This is public comment for items not on today's agenda. I'm going to allow 90 seconds per speaker. I'm going to ask staff to prep that clock. With that, I'm looking at a list here, but most of these look like they have item numbers. So given that these have numbers, we'll go to, again, this is general public comment for items not on today's agenda. I'll see if there's anyone in room who wishes to speak. Seeing nobody raising their hand, we'll go to Zoom. I see 2 hands via Zoom. I'm going to start with number 2837. Last 4, 2837. We'll give you the floor.
Hello, Brian Rosen here. I'm really disappointed. 90 seconds is incredibly undemocratic. 2 minutes, you reduce it to 2 minutes, and now you're reducing it to 1.5 minutes. This shows your lack of respect for the public. I want to talk again about the Surf Busway. When you drive the route, you get on the on-ramp on Del Monte and Sand City, and not counting the on-ramp and the off-ramp in Marina, it's 4.0 miles for maybe up to $100 million when all the costs are done. $100 million for bypassing 4 miles of freeway, actual freeway traffic. No wonder there's not enough money for the things that are really important when we do these crazy pork barrel projects, and you mislead the Coastal Commission. From the Salinas side, there is no problem with access to the beach. Am I over my 1.5 minutes? such lack of respect. I'm so disappointed the way Mr. Muck and Mr. Cedric have misled the agencies, the government agencies, the Coastal Commission. You know, so much misleading of the public that railroad tracks would stay in place. And it's just all very, very disappointing how this agency has operated. MST and TAMC both own land they want to see developed. That needed to be more carefully spelled out. Seems to me a pretty big conflict of interest. But you're all politicians, so you all want development, and that's probably the real reason for this.
Mr. Rosen, we're at time. We appreciate your comment. With that, I do have another phone number. If staff could take me back to the screen to see the last four, or let us know what those last four are.
1705.
1705. We'll go ahead and give you the floor.
Yes, good morning, TAMC members. Lorna Moffett here. The other day, I had a ride to Salinas with a friend of mine, and the traffic was standstill, and my driver friend was exasperated, telling me how it's getting worse, not better. And of course, I thought of all of you TAMC members, all the most powerful local politicians on this board, and you're making traffic worse, not better. Please start a carpool program and seek grant money for a bus to convey people during these heavy traffic time frames. That's your job. I thought how wonderful it would be if we could go online and get rides. Why aren't any of you promoting a carpool service? Mass transit and conservation of our resources are two elements that are being left out of our global warming conversations, and they're the most important of all. And your job is so important, but there is no will to do it properly. You promote transit lines like the SURF that won't really deal with moving large amounts of people and refuse to implement services or carpool lanes and carpool services. Apparently laying down 5 miles of toxic blacktop on railroad lines, destroying sections of the second most important sand dunes in California is feasible, but a carpool lane and carpool is not. Meanwhile, our traffic is getting bigger and worse, and it's your fault. It's time you use your power for good. In a letter to me from Biden, I quote, "The bipartisan infrastructure laws provide funding for projects that reduce greenhouse emissions
Thank you, Ms.
in
Moffett.
counties."
We're at time. Thank you. We appreciate your comments this morning. Is there any other general public comment not for items on today's agenda? Seeing no other hands up. Nobody
Mr. Chair?
coming. Yes,
May I suggest that we change the timer?
I think they're trying to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we're going to close the general public comment proceed. At this point, we have our consent agenda. Is there a member of this body who wishes to pull an item from consent for alternative action or comments? All right, hearing none, I'll go out to the public, see if there's a member of the public who wishes to pull an item from our consent agenda this morning. All right, hearing none, I'll bring it back to this body for action.
Who consent? Second.
I'm going to take a motion from Alejo. I'll take a second from Potter and ask staff for a roll call vote.
District 1 Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2 Supervisor Church.
Aye.
District 3 Supervisor Lopez.
Aye.
District 4 Alternate Mora.
Aye.
District 5 Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Yes.
City of Monterey.
Yes.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of San City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Eloise. With that, we're going to jump into item 4, which is to present the Transportation Agency Employee of the Quarter to Maria Montiel. Go ahead and hand it over to Todd.
All right. Maria's our employee of the quarter. I'm just gonna turn it off. Maria is our employee of the quarter this month. It is hereby certified that Maria Montel, Administrative Assistant, has been selected by our colleagues at the Transportation Agency for Monterey County as employee of the quarter for July 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2024. The agency employees recognize Maria for her professionalism and her efficiency for always being willing to help and most notably for her work on agenda preparation and support with TAMC committee meetings. Her diligence in taking an extra workload assisting with the check deposits, helping with the account payables, and keeping the county-related files and credit card charges up to date. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, it is our great pleasure to recognize Maria Montel for her exemplary service.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. I knew going there.
Yeah,
Very nice.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, any public comment on that item? See no one in room, no hands via Zoom. We'll go ahead and close public comment on that item. Congratulations. Okay. All right, and we're gonna go to item 5, State Route 68 Adaptive Signal Operations. Did you want to take 101 first? Sorry, I wanted to, but. Okay. Let's proceed with item 5, the State Route 68 Adaptive Signal Operations.
Good morning. Morning, here.
I go. No, takes a second to register.
There it goes. Morning, good morning. My name is Doug Vilsey. I'm the principal engineer at TAMC, and we have an item in front of you today about adaptive signals on Highway 68 between Salinas and Monterey. I always hit it too quickly. I'm impatient. So just really, I think everybody knows, what a traffic signal does, but where it lies in the in alternatives is you usually use a traffic signal if you have a lot of movements going through an intersection that are heavy, and they're all conflicting. Basically, they can't all go at the same time. Lower volume intersections typically can be served with stop signs. But you get collisions and things like that are worried about that in the side street delay. So when you get to higher volumes, you either go to a signal, and if it gets that big, you go to an interchange or a flyover or something like that. And then a roundabout is an alternative to a signal in most cases, but we're not here to talk about the roundabouts. What we're here to do is talk about what can we do on 68 to get the most out of the signals that we have there today. And there's really 3 operations that happen. And we're allowed to do free and coordinated with the equipment we have now. We are not able to do adaptive without doing some upgrades. So when you're free, uncoordinated, it's basically first come, first serve. And you rarely are sitting at the signal with no traffic going. It'll zip around and it'll come to you pretty quickly when that happens. It's in a very well-defined sequence, and if you go that signal, you'll know when you're next in line. And it's very flexible in that it treats everyone evenly. It doesn't give any priority, so sometimes it'll give the side street a little bit more time than you'd rather have because the main line is going to stop every intersection. So you don't get any what's called coordination. So coordination, you set up, and I probably could talk days on this. Coordination, though, you say, I want the signal to run every 2 minutes. And you say, I'm going to do the side streets, I'm going to do the left turns, and then I'm just going to sit on the main line, in this case 68, and it's going to stay green on 68. Whether there's cars on 68 or not, it's going to stay green, and that allows us to coordinate them. And with that synchronization, you can get a good progression through the whole corridor. It's very rigid and unbending. So if for whatever reason you don't have that traffic that you expected on Highway 68, the side streets are sitting there looking at their red light, and they say, why am I not getting one? So it gets frustrating. And then we have adaptive, which is basically a hybrid. You get artificial intelligence involved, and it starts thinking, it says, is it time to be free or coordinated? That's essentially what adaptive is. It's flipping back and forth between that. And then when it's free, it's making the best out of free. When it's coordinated, it makes the best out of coordinated. And the reason why it works is it gets real-time information. It gets great information. We'll kind of talk about that high resolution data, but that's the game changer. So as far as I can tell, this is about all you need to know as far as technically, but I could answer technical questions. But each one of these is got its weaknesses and strengths. When it's off-peak light traffic, middle of the night, free's fine. It's probably the best option. You know, if traffic's real light, you're good. If it's coordinated in the middle of the night, you're going to get nothing but complaints. People are going to say, I'm waiting here 2 minutes, and every 2 minutes I get, you know, my service. Adaptive can work great. It could say, you know what, it's not light, it's kind of light, moderate to light. And it can switch from free and say, you know what, there's enough traffic that we should do a progression. Peak hour, heavy traffic, free is terrible because you're going to stop at every light. You're going to stop if you're driving down 68. If you're coordinated, it's great. You just open up the floodgates and we talked about it a little bit, but Caltrans just changed the timing plan on 68, coordinated Monday, and it runs so much better with a new coordination plan. It gave it more green time, opened up the floodgates. Adaptive, it pretty much mimics coordination in this case. If you're going to open up the floodgates in coordinated, the adaptive will be great in that it might open them up a little bit earlier and keep them there a little bit longer, but in the peak of the peak hour, they work about the same. And if traffic were light, heavy, light again, we'd have no problem using free and coordinated. If we knew exactly when that traffic shoots up and then it stays high and then the volume goes down and stays low, but it's more like a curve throughout the day. And that's where adaptive is just fantastic because no 2 days are the same. No 2 hours are the same for the most part. And then when you look at like an incident happens, a collision, or you have something that's not expected, free's okay. You know, it's still going to zip around and you don't see too much of a problem. Coordinated, again, just poor because it says, I expect this to happen. Anytime it happens not expected, coordination is a poor option. And adaptive is great. It says, hey, you know what, I have something that happened. There was a collision. Now there's more traffic going one direction than the other. Special event, same thing. Free could be kind of okay with that, but coordination poor. You could set up a special coordination plan. We used to do that in the city of Monterey. We'd have a coordination plan just for, you know, 4th of July, just for New Year's, when people left the city. But you know, that's a lot of effort just for an hour, let's say. Again, adaptive, great. Close intersections, when your signals are very closely spaced, free is terrible because you're going to cue back into it. Coordination can work really good, and adaptive is great at that. Now, intersections spaced far apart, that's really a challenge. It's always been a challenge of signals. In that when you run it free, it's pretty darn good because by the time you get from one signal to another, you don't have a tight platoon traveling down like you want to serve the green. It's very spread out, and you have maybe a big truck that kind of breaks up the traffic. So when you're far apart, you know, that free kind of works pretty good. Coordinated is really bad. It doesn't work very good. I'm going to say adaptive is good at that, and we need to test that. That's kind of why we have an adaptive pilot project here to say how good does it work when signals are spaced far apart. I have confidence it's going to work better than what we have now. And I think, you know, I'll cut to the chase. I think adaptive is an excellent option, and I think it's something we definitely want to try and get the most out of and move forward. So why is adaptive so much better? There's all these nice pictures and everything. You don't really need to understand that, but it's AI, it's artificial intelligence. And what really, when you're a signal person, so I managed traffic signals for 25 years. And what you really want is data. You just need data to do a good job doing signals. And I love this stuff. I mean, I could go with this all day. And what's that mean? That's what you really need to do good signal timing. And that's what you need to do adaptive. The takeaway is artificial intelligence is learning. It's learning from a human. So you have this data, but you don't just push a button and walk away. So it's going to be a commitment from Caltrans, I hope, to be looking at these graphs, to be looking at these things, to fine tune it, see what adaptive's doing right, what's wrong. Where I have seen adaptive fail is when staffs didn't embrace it and they pushed the button and walked away and thought, well, it's artificial intelligence, it'll figure it out. It's getting better at doing that, but it does have to learn. So it has to learn from mistakes. It has to learn from learn by doing. So those are the basics. Here's the two options that are currently on the table. They say, what can we expect? You can see it's pretty much the same. So from the research that these two firms that Caltrans has reviewed, they come about the same. And since they're doing different studies, I wouldn't say one is we pick one versus the other because of this, but it does show significant improvement. And it depends on what you're starting from. So if you're starting from free signals, which a lot of these, I'll have to say that's probably what the vendor did. If I did it, I'd say, okay, the signals were running free on a big, busy coordination, and we got huge results. We're not going to get maybe the same results because we're already in coordination, but I think it shows here. It's very promising. Definitely something we want to do. Very excited to look at that. And so what we're proposing is Caltrans. I'd like to introduce John Olenek, the planning director, and give us an update on the Caltrans project, the pilot project that they submitted.
Thank you, Doug. And it's true. He is so enthusiastic. We love working with Doug on these projects because I learned a lot as well. I'm John Olenek, Caltrans District 5. I'm our engagement and planning manager, and glad to be here today. And glad to be working in partnership with TAMC on this endeavor. While it's true, we did apply for, but we were not successful in special competitive funding to acquire equipment. What we did acquire was approval to do this project along with TAMC. So that was good. And we're glad we've accomplished that. We're glad to be at this point now to help move this forward. We'll be working from this point onward, with the cooperative agreement in place to be able to figure out the means and the methods by which we get it installed. And we want to see this play out. We're very curious to see how this pilot program will work. Certainly, these AI controllers are not a substitute. It's not a replacement of the need for the long-term overall improvement project, but it is something we're interested in, piloting and see how things play out. And we'll be working together as we go forward. So thank you.
Right. Thanks, John. So we have that update, and so with that, it kind of flipped back to something that was going to be maybe a shared funding, where TAMC pays for the second phase, and Caltrans would get the first phase. The pilot project, we flipped that, and now we're proposing to take on the first phase funding. So they will be the lead agency. They will be the ones that select the system. They install it. They do everything, design it. We will just reimburse them for the funds needed to get there. The phase one cost estimate, depending on which one they take, could be $250. We want to have enough money available so we don't have to come back to get phase one done. If we get it done under budget, we'll have that much more money ready to go to phase two. We're going to do the east side because that's the most congested. So by the Salinas side, we're going to do 4 intersections for Tierra, San Venancio, Laurel's Grade, and Ponderosa Pitts Road. And that's basically to show that spacing. One of those is very closely spaced. One of those is very big space between them, and heavy congestion in the morning. So and I think, we've seen enough support here, but we're very committed to going to phase two once phase one results is validated. And by that, I think we're saying, did it go in? Did it work? Did the lights go on flash? We're not going to be looking for those percentage changes at this point. You really need to have the system in place for the whole network to really say, is this meeting our expectations? But with the first 4, we could just kind of see how it's running. I'll bring back all those neat graphs, and you'll probably get bored to tears about it. But that's where we're at. And if you have any questions.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this to the board, see if there's any questions before we go to the public.
I want your. Everything looked great. So when is the validation? What timeline is that? To come back and tell us, hey, you think it makes sense?
Well, I'll work backwards on that. I think we'll need about a month of operation to do that. And working with Caltrans, there's a couple more steps involved before we can actually get it put in. And I don't know if you're available to talk to that.
I think a good starting point is when our cooperative agreement is in place, and then we have to dig in to see what kind of implementation the installation looks like. 6 to 12 months probably to do that, depending on conduit, what equipment's out there, and power and everything. But we'll be working closely with Doug and TAMC on the implementation of that. And then, as you suggested, the evaluation, the performance of it.
And then that took Monday, we put the signal timing plan in. I was out there 6 in the morning driving it up and down, and I could see it instantly. So signals are really instantaneous, and we will know very quickly if this has worked. So I would say no more than a month before we can make a determination to success.
Supervisor Adams.
Right, I just wanted to ask whether PG&E is going to have to be involved with this process.
I don't think so. It's the power's there to the signals, and the power's there to the equipment, I believe. So, but that's where the planning comes in. So there'll be a design phase, but I don't think PG&E would be, but it wouldn't be in the planning. So I've done a lot of signals there. It's not like 156 where they can hold it up. If anything, we might have to work with them to turn on and off the power to put a new switch in, but it's PG&E rarely gets in the way of signal projects.
Thank you.
So I'm hearing that it may be 6 to 12 months to evaluate the whole pilot project, working with Caltrans. And then you're saying that the first, after it's installed, we may start seeing results the first 30 days. Was that what I heard?
There's a little correction. It takes 6 to 12 months for them to design it. Take a look at the signals, what there's there, how would they mount it, how would they install it? That could be a lot faster, but this is very conservative at this point. Until they know what's out there in the field and they know the signal and they've done some assessment, it could go real quick, the design, but conservatively 6 to 12 months to design it, then they buy it. And then the installation is really fairly quick, maybe a week, to coordinate it, but a week it gets installed and then you're off to the races. Maybe a month later, you could do the evaluation.
Thank you for the clarification.
All right, at this time, I'm going to open it up to the public. I'm going to go with folks who submitted cards first, and then we'll go to other folks in the room, and then we'll go to Zoom. So I'm going to start with Dwight Stump. Dwight, I've got your card here. If you approach the dais there, and go ahead and give it 90 seconds.
Good morning. I'm glad to hear that TAMC staff is recommending using Measure X funds to install adaptive signal controls on 68, but it does fall short of what it is best and recommended, as well as honoring the board voting unanimously to do in April, which was to install adaptive at all 9 intersections. I sent a letter to the board earlier this week that lists the many reasons why 9 intersections should be done instead of 4. The traffic problems occur along the entire 68 corridor. Adaptive works as a system with communication between all intersections along the corridor to coordinate it and make it effective, which is why installations that are successful are 10+ intersections. Milevision, one of the vendors that is being considered by Caltrans, when asked about doing 4 instead of 9, responded, and I quote, "If only 4 are done, the corridor will not be optimized, and there could be some issues between the platoons leaving the adaptive section and then hitting the remaining 5 signals. The cost to do all 9 intersections is only about $425,000 according to a bid sent to Caltrans. That's only $125,000 more than being currently proposed to do the job right and achieve the results that the public deserves from their Measure X funds. Specifically, they have been allocated for Highway 68, so let's use them. Remember, the proposed 9 roundabouts that were originally proposed are over $200 million and would take years to be installed and would only improve the PM commute by 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.
Adaptive
Stump.
can be installed in 5 months.
Mr.
I
Stump,
urge the board to
we're
vote.
timed. Mr. Stump, we're over time. Thank you. I'm gonna go to Barry Jones.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Good morning. Really pleased to see the proposal coming in today for 4 intersections and the use of the 250, and thanks to Doug for pushing that forward. We're a great believer in adaptive and making it work, and we've been pushing for this for a long time. So it's good to see that. But I'm absolutely stunned by the idea of 6 to 12 months design to actually get this thing moving on the ground. I'm a retired civil engineer, big projects in the UK and that sort of thing. This number stuns me. I'm sure it can be done much quicker than that. A 4 intersection pilot at the eastern end of the corridor will mean that the whole corridor is not optimized. That's what we're trying to do, to optimize the whole corridor. And no actual up-to-date data traffic flow will be captured until for the western 5 intersections. And anyone who's travelled that at peak time coming home in the evening knows that that is still not any better from Monday when this stuff went in. Also, there'd be no near-term relief in the peak period congestion on that western end. I'm sure that you'll all agree that just to approve a 4 intersection pilot with a view to reviewing the results and then at a later date try and secure installation for a western 5 intersections, which may take another 6 to 12 months to design, etc., will delay any improvements on that western section. And I think those of you that look after the western section, from homeowners meetings I've been to down there, they really want something happening now. So I ask you all to reconsider and take this from a post 4 to a 9 intersection.
We're at time, Mr. Jones.
It's 425K.
We're at time. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All right. And with that, seeing no more cards on this item, I'm gonna see if there's anyone in room who wishes to make public comment on this item. Next item. Okay. I did see a couple hands up raised via Zoom, so we'll start. If you'll give me the last 4.
2837.
2837, the floor is yours.
Brian Rosen here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks. Of course, adaptive signals will help traffic move flow better, and they're a good idea. But the problem is that if you're all politicians and you're all pretty pro-development, so if we just keep developing and developing, it's going to get even worse, even with the adaptive signals. And so it's really not going to make much difference. In fact, things are going to get even worse. So, you really need to try, stop this out of control development. We don't have the water. It makes life miserable for people driving who need to drive. We don't need all this spread out development. And it's just not a good idea. And you're really not making things better. It never should have gotten to where it is right now. So that's all I wanted to say on this. You're deceiving yourself if you think it's going to make much difference. What's going to make difference is maybe turning it into a 4-lane highway, which would be cost prohibitive, and where does that all end? So, okay, thanks for listening. I hope you listened. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Is there any other hands up?
Yes. Mike Weaver.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes, good morning. I would like to, as a 57-year driver on State Highway 68, I could probably write a chapter or 2. I would like to thank Doug Bilsey and John Olenix and commend them for their comments. I endorse putting all 9 adaptive signal controllers in, and would like to remind TAMC that Measure X, the biggest advertising on Measure X was "Let's Fix Highway 68." This is a good opportunity to actually do something for Highway 68. The cost isn't all that much. Please do all 9 adaptive signal controllers and get it underway. I think everybody can get on board with this. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else via Zoom?
Gary Curcio.
Mr. Curcio, the floor is yours. Gary, you'll need to unmute yourself, but the floor is yours.
Sorry, my first Zoom meeting. So again, thanks to the staff for this presentation. I would highly recommend that the board move forward with this trial program. It's certainly going to give us a taste of the failure or success of this project. So please move forward and approve this today. We've got a lot of hospitality workers that are stuck in that traffic, and it's, as you all know, not a fun experience. So please approve this today and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curcio. Any other hands via Zoom?
No.
All right, see no other hands via Zoom. I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. Additional comments or questions? I'm gonna go to Supervisor Church.
Yeah, I just following up on one of the commenters here who was saying that there were, like, just get some information on the accuracy, that to do all 9 would be 425,000. Could you give us an estimate of what it would be for all 9?
I would say it's gonna be less than 500,000 to get all 9. You know, with the design and everything at this phase, I think if we had 500,000, we can comfortably deliver 9.
So just to kind of follow up on that, sorry, Mary. I mean, if it's a pilot project, I mean, to do it over the whole 68, I think to do all 9, there is some real merit to that. I think it's not just for the Highway 68, but for the rest of the county. I can think of particular corridor in my district that perhaps could utilize that. I'm sure a lot of us around here in cities and as well as the rural areas could too. So when you look at things, sometimes you look at, well, I can buy one of these, or for a few dollars more, I can buy 5. And that's kind of what we're doing here between 4 and 9. It seems like the cost to add 5 in, well, the cost to add 5 in is less than it is to put 4 in. Yeah, and so it seems to make sense in my view that maybe we include all these unless there's an argument against it.
So one vote for the Costco method. We're gonna go to Mayor Oglesby.
You got me with that one. Sure. You got me. I was just at Costco a couple of days ago. Right? And I thought we did vote for 9. We had that big discussion, right? And unless Caltrans is saying they don't want to study 9, they don't want to do 9. But if we're paying for 4, we need to pay for 9.
Yeah.
Right. And then my last point is you get 4 of them and they're going west to the peninsula, well, then they're stacking up at the coordinator, period, point blank, right? We sped them through to stop at the last 5. And it only, and you know, when you leave in town, right, going east, well, then they're speeding, not speeding, they're going very fast, coordinated, right, through the last 4. And that's a benefit. But to take 6 to 12 months to study the 4, when we're saying if the 4 work, then we're going to do 5 more. I don't understand that thinking, right? It just, why don't we see if it works through the corridor? If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, it does. But we know it's going to work. We just don't know the percentages. It's going to work. We just don't know the percentages. And so I don't know why we would do half. And I'm concerned with this, when someone said earlier, is it's 6, 7, 12 months before we get any relief. And so why would we just do 4 signals? If we're going to do 6 to 12 months of study, which I understand we have to do, but then why don't we bring relief to the whole corridor shortly thereafter? So thank you.
Supervisor Adams.
My question is both to Doug and to John. Are there problems with doing 9? Why could we not do 9?
We could, it's the process. I don't know, when we started this off, it was a pilot project. And so we started this journey saying Caltrans would propose to do a pilot project. And if allowed to try it out and it worked, the assumption is, okay, then we can go to 9. So I don't think there's anything stopping you here from funding all 9. There's no problem with that. Now, we might come back and say, you know what, Caltrans has to do it 4 + 5. But if you want to fund the entire 9, we could work with Caltrans and we're a good team, and we'll see if there's anything in the way. So it has to be 4 and 5, but if it doesn't have to be 4 and 5, we can work with them if you feel comfortable with it.
So John, can you answer that as well?
The 4 signals was in the 6 to 12 months was based on our original intent to acquire funding. So if this board, if TAMC wants to pursue 9, we're all in with TAMC to do what this board wants. It will affect the schedule. The 6 to 12 months, it probably would be more like 12 months because then again, it's going back and it's identifying what's in ground. If conduit is not sized right, there might have to be additional, work done that way. So we have to design and figure out exactly what the implementation looks like. So it just would take time. I mean, it's your money and we're all in to support what you want as a board, but it's really the matter of the time and us figuring out, are we doing our work in-house? Are we having to contract out to help get support in that? Because this is a program, this would be an implementation of a program outside of our normal work. So, but as a concept, we want to support this board in its decision.
Thank you.
So if I could just add, we've debated this question internally for quite a while, and I think if the board wants to make a motion to fund all 9 at this point and then give direction, that's great. The discussion we had was on the potential delay on the first 4 if we go for all 9 because of the Caltrans process. The time they take per intersection, basically they'll spend 9 intersections worth of time before they do anything versus do 4, see how it works and decide if it's worth doing all 9. So that's why we had the original recommendation to support the 4. If the board wants to make a recommendation to fund all 9 and then let Caltrans move into the process, we'd still probably push internally for them to proceed with 4, just so we get the benefit of those 4. And the time it takes is, I gotta try to be nice to my friend John here and Meg. I love them dearly. It says Caltrans, but Caltrans has this bureaucratic process that just takes a long time. And we're trying to work through that.
But when the time is appropriate, Mr. Chair, I would love to make the motion to move on 9.
Thank you, Mary. I'm gonna go to Councilman Burr and then Mayor LeBlanc.
Yes, when it comes to time, we have about 1.5 years or maybe 2 to see the results. So we're gonna wait for 2 years to see the result of 4. That is gonna be half of what we actually need, we need the results of the whole corridor, not just a portion. And if we're gonna wait 2 years to see that results, then we should do all 9. I mean, why do things halfway when we can do it the entire project?
Mayor LeBlanc.
I agree with what Supervisor Church, Supervisor Mary had mentioned, and the points that you put out. And so I would be for all 9, and I do believe as they go through it, it might be a shorter time frame if there is no additional infrastructure that's needed. So might as well fund the 9 now. And then however the planning works that's just what it is. And if they only can do the 4 as of that, but I think it'll just go one after another. I'm in favor of that too.
So Mary, is there a motion, given what I've heard so far, not seen any other hands up? Staff mentioned they thought $500,000 would cover it rather than the 300,000 that is in the staff report. So with the approved number going to 500,000 and authorized, is that your motion?
Yes, that's exactly my motion.
And I've got a second from Potter. Any final comments from this board?
I thought it was somebody waving up there. I don't know if he's the public or a member.
Bob Meyer.
Yes, this is Bob Meyer. I have lived in Toro Park since.
Bob, I'm sorry, we closed public comment already on this item. I apologize. So with that, I am going to ask Eloise to take us through a roll call vote.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2, Supervisor Church.
Aye.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Aye.
District 4, alternate Mora. District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield.
Aye.
City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Yes.
City of Monterey.
Yes.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Yes.
City of Sand City.
Yes.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Yes.
Chair, the motion passes unanimous.
Thank you, Eloise. With that, we're gonna jump into item 6 to receive an update on the Toro Park cut-through pilot project.
You have me again. All right, so I think we've had a little bit of a background on the project, but just because there's new people in the audience and I want to make sure that they are feeling heard, we're going to go over this project just a little bit. As you're aware, we were just talking about it. So when 68 is congested in the morning going westbound, this just doesn't show up, but on the blue line there, when 68 is congested westbound, what happens is Bruce is in our way, but that's okay.
Just a square, if you could slide it to the other side of the screen, that'd be great.
Can Bruce duck?
I'm moving down to the bottom.
It's okay. This is, you get, nothing's running right here, but people try to bypass that congestion, and the way to do it is Toro Park. So for those, I'm just kind of setting the stage here. Toro Park is up there. I think everybody knows where that is. And then what happens is, okay. What happens is that they start so what happens is they start using Portola Road. So when Portola Road, before the project, pilot project was put in place, this is a picture after school let out. So you won't see the parking on the right. You can see the school bus on the left. To give you a perspective, that's Toro Park Elementary School. And this is all the traffic trying to get from Salinas to Monterey. They say, you know what, that Highway 68 is so blocked that we got to use this. So, you know, I heard how bad the traffic was and I envisioned this. And I said, okay, you know, I've been around, you know, I've done this for 30 years. This isn't that bad. And they said, oh no, it's the neighborhoods. I'm like, well, I get it, Portola, but it was kind of built for a little bit of extra traffic, and it is by a school. That's not desirable. We don't want that. And what happens is, before it gets congested on that street, they start driving as fast as they can to beat the traffic. So you have everybody we talked about from here to there is aggressive drivers trying to beat the traffic and maybe pass 5 or 6 cars, literally, to get just a little bit more, get faster to work. And so what happens now, again, you have the school over here and this traffic coming down. And in this middle part here, when school is in session, you see this happening, and we call it bypass traffic. Now, this is one that I had never seen before. And when I got to this point, I was like, this is a different animal. This is something that just is not acceptable. What I mean by that is, this is a residential street. And this happens regularly every morning. And when people said they couldn't get out of their driveway for 20 minutes, I go, you guys are exaggerating. And then I went out there and saw that. I go, you guys are not exaggerating. This is crazy. This is not what the road's built for. Your roads are going to break down. Your pavement's not designed for this kind of traffic. The people literally, when they get out of their driveways, those people can't move out of the way without going the wrong way on and I have tons of pictures. Other places, I think is exemplary, but people start driving the wrong way on a street. They start passing dangerously. We're all in a school zone. So not desirable. So how do we build consensus on this pilot project? February, Toro Park HOA invited us, Todd and I went to a meeting and we looked at each other and said, you know what, we'll study it. And that's what I found out in the field, said, you know, we gotta do something. And again, when we said 6 to 12 months to design an adaptive system, which is probably one of the easiest designs that you can do in traffic engineering, look at the timeline we did on this. It's remarkable. April 3rd, we had our first workshop with the community. That's February to April, we have a meeting and we kick off the project. We set up a traffic committee from members of the Sarah Village and Toro Park. We no longer we're not associated with either HOA in that we don't ask them to vote on it, and we're not getting input from the HOA officially, but we've used them as a good connector with the community. So they identified people from each part of the neighborhood that would help us design. And we said, hey, we're gonna meet until we have to, but we gotta get this in place before school starts. And sure enough, we met 3 times and we were a little disappointed. We didn't get to meet more because we really built a really good rapport with them, and several of the members are here, may speak. May 22nd, we had a second workshop and we got good support for it. That's the group. So some people might say, you know, not many people have been informed about it. This was about 120 people in a room that sits 100. And the key to it is not everybody agreed with what we needed to do, but when we asked the question, were you heard? This is what we got. Now, you rarely can get that many people to raise their hand if you ask them, are you sitting in the seat right now? So you have an engaged community here, and very excited to see something happen. Now, I'm gonna go a little bit into depth on what the main problem is. It's not, the circles here is you have too much traffic coming from Salinas, and the bottom area's got too much traffic going to Monterey. Nothing changes in terms of volume in Toro Park. That's not a huge development that has a bunch of traffic coming in or leaving. So it's really, you have to remember that we're not changing those, we're changing what's in the middle. And what you have is, instead of a lot of traffic going on 68, you have about half of it getting off and coming back on. And it just doesn't work at all. And so phase 1 was, let's get rid of this exit traffic. So we blocked the exit traffic. And then what that did was meant a lot of people in the neighborhood where they were getting out on this right turn, we blocked the through traffic, but we also redirected all the neighborhoods. So you're gonna see, and we'll get there, all the people on the west side of Toro Park now have to go all the way back, do that U-turn, and get stuck in that terrible traffic. That is really a negative about the implementation that we have to address. So now all of a sudden you have more traffic on 68. We're kind of back to normal until people started saying, oh, and we kind of knew this was going to happen, but they started getting off at River Road and going in there. Now they're getting off on Portola and just getting off and getting back on. So it's really, when you see this dire need to make 5, maybe 3-minute difference in a commute, you just see bad driving decisions. So what we did was we tried to teach them, say, we got to do phase 2, which we already had gone through. We just didn't know how quickly it was gonna, or if it was gonna be needed, but we did this systematically. We got rid of the Creekside entrance. And then, the same thing, it went to a U-turn. So now we're pushing the traffic back on. So now basically, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have had any change on Highway 68. It would have been the same traffic from Salinas, the same traffic going to Monterey. However, what's been happening gradually, and it happened for some reason, the Engine Road project, a lot of traffic started using 68 for one reason or another. Even though the construction was going on for a while, we got a bunch of traffic there. Davis Road got closed. A lot of traffic came over. Hitchcock, a lot of traffic came over. Some people are saying, well, this was the worst time to do it. Think about that. You saw what that traffic was like. If you think the traffic was bad and then you throw more traffic on 68, you're going to have more bypass traffic. You are going to have more aggressive driving. And I don't know, honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to be too crazy about this. I don't know where the next level of craziness goes in that. It really was, when we were out there, I was with CHP. They've been a great partner, and we were just kind of stunned, what was happening. So this is where we are now. I'm going to just take a look, for those that didn't know what exactly we did. Torero Drive was closed. and it looks like this. So that's not the most attractive thing, but it's a pilot project. And remember, the time we got it in, we got this in before school started in August, and we were asked to study it in February. That's a tremendous turnaround. So what happens if you do not follow the signs? CHP has been out there. They've been one of the best partners. Jessica's just been a phenomenal leader. I'm sorry she couldn't make it here, but I know she's busy writing tickets. This was literally, we were talking, and this guy looked both ways and went right past it. So it was pretty startling the first day. I drive there pretty often. That's my commute to work. I don't see many people, but of course, you know, if everybody followed the rules, we wouldn't need police officers. It's done a good job here in that the few people that I see doing it, it's not usually in the peak hour, and we have a plan on that, but yeah, it's worked good in the peak hour. So before, there was 550 trips making a right turn, and most of that was cut through traffic. Maybe 100 was the neighbors, and 650 trips on 68. That's a 50-50 split. Half of the people that need to use 68 were saying, I'd rather drive through the neighborhood. It just didn't make any sense. And what was happening for those that drove it, it was a stop sign almost installed at Torero, where it's I go, you go, I go, you go. The very generous drivers were terrorizing the flow of traffic on 68. It was terrible. So what we did, we got rid of those right turns to zero. I mean, I think we counted 3 per day, and then it all went on to 68. And I think I said earlier, we did finally get the traffic signals. We tried to get the traffic signals coordinated 6 months ago, 5 months ago, 4 months ago. We got it done Monday. So we got the first step, and again, adaptive will even make it better. But a little bit of the frustration was that the signals weren't put in. The coordination was done in collaboration with this. A little offset. And so when we got that extra 1,200 trips down, they were just stacked up, and we had quite a bit of backups. So this is probably more that I just was kind of impressed with how much we did, and the people here. I think there's quite a few members. Harry, Terry, we have so many people that are part of the neighborhood that helped out taking counts. Harry was out there helping us monitor, and that's what we did. We put something in, we looked at it, we adapted, we did the next phase, and now we're at a point where we ran a community workshop, our third one. But the other part, I guess I forgot to say, just to give you an idea. School started August 7th, and the first day of school, and a week before, the school district said, you know what, we really have a problem with our drop-off area of the school. Can you fix that too? So with 4 days before our kickoff meeting, and we put in the project, it worked good, but the school district said, can you help us with the design? I said, sure, I'll go out there, see what I could do. And it was pretty bad. I could spend time on this, but that big X is how traffic was going through. It was terrible. So we fixed that up. We put some temporary improvements there the day before school, and it's not pretty, but it works. So this is the first day of school. How did it go? It went incredibly well. And I've heard from everybody that, you know, we kind of had to force some things in, and right now there's some people that are not following the signs, but the parking is prohibited, so there's not a lot of people, the children don't get crossed. That was one of the big problems. People were crossing Portola with cars speeding through. So glad we did that. Smooth sailing. And this is the before picture. This is this is without school, but there would be all these cars parked on the right side if a school is in session, and the parents would be crossing that street to get to the school on the other side. So this is before, this is after. That's what it looks like. It's pretty much a typical day right after we put it in. I think it worked out great for the school. So then we did phase 2 road closure by Portola Drive by Creekside, and we had to figure out where to put it. That's on me. That Creekside, I thought Creekside was part of Sarah Village, so that is a mistake that I made. I thought I was reaching out to them when I was talking to the HOA, and
talking to them. We didn't get as much input from them as we should have before we made this decision. I'm gonna be working with Creekside though to see if this is the right place or to put it up closer to Reservation Road. But that the way I've been saying it, I know it takes some people the wrong way, but we took a sledgehammer to this. We said, we are gonna do a pilot project. We were gonna crack some eggs. We're gonna make some omelets. We got an omelet now. Now, what it did cost us is the next question. But here, you know, we had about 250 trips coming through, and it went down to 0. So it worked what we wanted to do. Get rid of the cut through traffic. It has worked great. On October 8th, we did a workshop. I'd love to go over this. It's pretty neat. What we did was we asked 2 questions at the same time. So we go into depth in the staff report, but I could get a question, and it's not fair to ask a question, do you like this or not like this, and think that, you know, who has their hands raised. What we did was we said, where do you live? And we broke up the groups into where you lived, and we asked the same question. And I could tell you, the people that are more west on Toro Park now, confidently, I could say, they are going to be opposed to it because they had to be one of those U-turns that had to go away. You know, they got the most drastically impacted. As you get closer to the interchange, that group is like, this is the best thing that could ever happen to us. As you get to Creekside, all of a sudden you get on Creekside, they're like, this is terrible. On the other side of the barricade, they're like, this is great. So it's not fair to say that we have a consensus in each area of the study area. But it was pretty neat. Everybody got in there, they put the dots up, and I got some statistics for anyone that's crazy about that. It was pretty cool. You know, we asked this question, you know, what do you think coming here tonight, and what should we do next? So we asked 2 questions, and if you have some time, I think it's a really neat survey tool. But here is kind of what you may want to hear, is what did you hear at the October? Almost all the respondents said we successfully eliminated cut-through traffic, you know, but at what cost? About 1/3 of respondents feel the pilot project is a hardship and cost to stress. That is about how much percentage is on the west side of Toro Park. So yeah, that's the people that had the biggest impact, and it makes sense. They have to go on 68 now and get caught in the traffic. About half of the respondents, is about 46% as I recall, drive towards Monterey each morning. And that was the main complaint received, I think, that their commute got worse. So it's a group that commutes to Monterey. It's not to minimalize it. They are significantly impacted. And at some points it was 25, 40 minutes, you know, that it took to get down there. It took a while for traffic to settle, and now we have a signal improvement. Like I said, the coordination, it'll settle. It's getting back more towards what I think was going to be about 12 minutes to 14 minutes extra. So it does not come without a cost. The residents are going to be trading off no cut through traffic for a longer commute. Almost half of the respondents loved or liked the project. Over 1/3 of the respondents hate the project. But about 70% say we're heading in the right direction, but we're not there yet. And I think that's what I wanted to report back to you. We need some more time to look at some more options, and we'll get there. So what's next? This is 68. You know, welcome to people's commute. A lot of the people from Toro Park were getting in here on the right turn, and now they're getting in at the end of this queue. So I think you can understand where the frustration comes. So we don't want to study everything on this. We want to do the pilot project. We want to close it up. We think we need till June or January to do one more thing. But here's our options here today. I don't recommend you make any decisions at this point, but this would be what we found today. Do nothing would move everything and go back to the way it was, because a lot of the people on the west side say, hey, this isn't worth it. Keep the pilot project, do it the way it is, and say, you know what, it's great the way it is. Relocate where the closures are. We could work with the locations that would better serve the community. I don't think we need to really study that. We know what it would do. We just got to find the best place to do that, because some of the places, the reason why we selected the places were They had the pullouts, they had the turnaround areas, and moving it to other places may need some improvements. But I don't think we really need to test it. If we move that block road closure, let's say towards the school, we could do that. We can't do it now, but we could do it with a little bit of work. Bus gates. This is one that I think is kind of like a really neat thing. Everybody said, why are we taking a 2-hour problem and giving it a 24-hour solution? So that was a big thing that we were thinking about. I said, well, that gate has to come down and block it. And I couldn't think of a way to have that happen automated. I hadn't realized it, but then all of a sudden, we said, our team was working. We said, well, if we did it as a transit, the bus can close it in the morning, and it can automatically open, but we needed someone there when it goes down so that a car, doesn't get hit. So that's one thing we could do. Wherever we pick the closures, we could have gates. So the gates, whether it's MST or the school bus, they will have an ability to open and close the gates, and the emergency vehicles can open and close the gates. They will be open most of the day. They will only be closed for 2 hours. I think that's a good option. We think this is the kind of the unicorn. Is that we could relocate the merge. So that's where we take that merge and we put it towards Salinas to a point where by the time you get to Toro Park, you've gone through the terrible queue and the congestion, you're free flowing, and there's no reason to get off and do bypass. So just wanted to share with you, this is a partial road closure I was part of in City of Monterey when I worked there this was a sapling, this tree, when we put it in, it was about this big. So it worked good. If you want to see something, it's Grant and Casanova, pretty similar. We closed the traffic one way, worked really well. And then the merge relocation. So here's the current location here, and we're talking about maybe moving it to River Road or up by Spreckles. So CHP's had some concerns, counties had concerns, I've had some concerns, but by moving that there, by the time you get to Creekside, you have no benefit to get off and on because you're free flowing. So if we move that merge and it works, it's great. The question is, what will happen? Well, we think that's why you do a pilot project. Worst thing that happens is it's kind of like a typical lane closure that would happen during the construction project. We would implement it like that. It would just look like there's been some a hole in the road that needs to be fixed. We'd close a lane, we do the traffic control, we'd close that lane for a while, maybe a couple weeks near the end of our pilot project. We want to get this in place by January. And then we come back, do another workshop and say, okay, which one of those alternatives do you like, community? What's good, what's bad, what's ugly? And then we would finish the project in January. And I believe that's it.
All right, any comments from board members before we go to public comment? We do have a significant amount of public comments. I'm gonna go, I see Chaps.
I just wanted to thank you, Doug, for putting this together. It was very helpful for me to understand. I thank you to also address this problem head on when it actually came in and gathering all the community input. I would say with the advent of technology, it is not news to me that folks are finding different ways to get into traffic. For example, my own software suggests that I should take an exit and re-merge with traffic. Just to say that's just a little bit of people.
There's a fan behind me, so it's kind of hard to hear.
Yeah, so.
Thank you. I was going to say, with the advent of technology, this is not unsurprising, and I think this will continue to occur in the future. So I'm glad that we're tackling things head on. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. And my question to you is with the blessing.
That's good. I can hear.
But folks can't.
With the blessing that we did for the earlier item with the adaptive signals, wouldn't that alleviate the concern here?
Yes.
And so I would say that also I want to suggest that we do what we can to expedite that process as quickly as we can so that we can address concerns like this, because this will continue to grow in the future. Thank you.
Luis.
Thank you very much. This presentation reminded me why we're here. This goes to the essence of what TAMC is all about, looking at real rural traffic congestion problems getting our professional staff on it to test some things. Some lessons learned. I think it was pretty eye-opening, the befores and afters and how it's working. But it was also striking to see the public's response that 69% said we still have a lot of work to do in this area. So I want to commend staff. I want to get to a better resolution or strategies that help us alleviate the congestion here. It's definitely tied with the other issues on 68 overall. But what is your recommendation out of the 5 options there? Was it to continue the pilot and continue to learn? And will we get a report back on this in a few months to see how it's working, to actually start making some permanent decisions that could make things better in that particular neighborhood?
Yeah, I think we need to test the merge relocation. If we could test that merge, then we'll be done with the pilot project and we can meet with the community in January and come back with the recommendations. So we're working with Caltrans to make that happen.
So January would be the next timeframe for us to come back and have that.
And it'll be a county, I didn't maybe mention it. This will not be a TAMC project. When it gets implemented, it will become a county project.
Oh.
So we just kind of.
Send it to us, huh?
Yeah, exactly. We've just been facilitating. I really want to put a hats off to the county. The county staff has been incredible because they've been putting in the pieces. I just kind of sit there and push them along. So we are trying to get them to a good vision and a good direction, but
well, then thanks for your help on that, and we look forward to then following through on that. Thank you.
Glenn?
Yeah, Doug, you gave us a chart up here, showed 650 cars are coming through Torero at 550. So I'm curious, have we done or we plans to do any study now that there's 1,200 cars going through there and you're not having that constant stop and go at Torero? Is that flow actually now faster that way if you're starting from reservation to San Benancio? Being that it's all one way and you're not having this cut in?
I'm glad you asked. I was out there 6 o'clock Monday morning with the new timing plan. Well, it did clear out that I go, you go at Torero Park. That cleared it out, but all that did was push it to San Benancio. And San Benancio is the ultimate roadblock. So when the new coordination plan went in Monday and I did it, it ran so much smoother and it went much better. So that signal timing plan and that Torero has led to smoother traffic, but there's more traffic because of the construction. So it's a little blurry on, are they better off?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we've done any previous studies when we had this, this side flow coming in as we're down. If you had a car reservation, does it take just as long, or is it shorter, or is it longer to get to San Benancio?
Than it was before?
Yeah.
It's shorter.
It is short.
So I'm sorry.
But the queue goes back a little bit farther. The queue now goes back to reservation.
So Doug, the question is, if you were in the traffic on 68, with the cut through traffic eliminated, how long were you in the queue before and how long were you in the queue after the cut through traffic's eliminated? And then there's some improvement because of the signal coordination.
Yeah, so before it took me 20 minutes to get from Torero or Portola exit to San Benancio, 20 minutes to go a couple miles, 2 miles. And Monday, it took me 16 minutes.
Okay, so that answers
4 minutes. And I'd say it's mostly the signal timing plan, but also pushing the traffic.
That's great. It's just one other observation, and maybe the public when they speak can answer this, but I looked up here at the chart, 89% of people say it's successful and 37% hate it. Now, when I add those numbers, that's over 100. So you got like 1 in 4 saying, I hate this success, essentially. But I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that. And I'm hoping somebody in the public can address that.
Let me clarify that. Were we successful in cutting out the cut through traffic? And 80% said yes. But a lot of people said, yeah, you got rid of the cut through traffic, but I hate what I have to do to get that. That's the difference. So I'm glad you asked that question. There's a lot of people that say, I wish there was something else you could do that didn't impact me. But I agree with the approach. I like what happened with it in terms of cut through, but I don't like driving in that traffic anymore than anybody else. Thank you.
I'm gonna go to Bruce.
Thanks, Chris. I have not experienced such a good outreach program that so quickly made some changes, and I'm hoping that the harm done by MGN construction and Davis Road construction will show some improvements in Highway 68 when those construction projects are done. So maybe this is the worst it's going to be until the future when there may be more development. And TAMC has always told us that in 20, 25 years, no matter what we did on Highway 68, it might get worse than it is before we started doing anything. So that's something in the future we'll have to deal with. But I just want to extend appreciation to TAMC and its consultants and the county and everyone for doing this neighborhood relief project. It's the kind of project that the government should feel really good about succeeding with. And I know there's a lot of progress still to be made, but so far it's just a thumbs up, A+. Thank you, everybody involved with this project.
Mayor will speak.
Thank you, Chair. I think the board should look at the bus gate issue and support that. I don't think the people in that area should be, my words, punished 24 hours a day on getting on to 68 just because of that 2-hour problem. And then, you know, it's only a couple of people bypassing the no interest, but the whole community has to go back around to 68 24 hours a day. Even days that you're off, you don't have to commute, but maybe you want to go to Monterey or something, but you still got to go backwards. And, you know, just something we should look at to say we solved the problem on the cut through, but why punish you 24 hours a day to make you go all the way back to get on 68? If we had with the bus gate, that would be, you know, a real partnership with them.
Agreed. Carl?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Doug. Just something to consider for future community meetings, and I'm sorry I didn't bring this up earlier because I did know some of these meetings were occurring. But Monterey Salinas Transit does offer subsidized van pool program that our board recently at its last meeting upped the monthly subsidy to $500 per month to groups of 4 or more who want to use a van, SUV or crossover provided by Enterprise to offset their costs of carpooling. We have currently over 31 van pools operating with over 240 individual members daily. So if we can make a push in this neighborhood, perhaps there are groups of people working in similar locations or neighborhoods near each other on the peninsula, and we can jointly benefit from that, reduce traffic congestion, make the commute a little bit better, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So let's coordinate between TAMC and MST and the county as this moves forward, and maybe a van pool program can help offset some of this traffic as well. So thank you. And that's my commercial as well.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And fly Monterey. We'll go to John.
Just to reemphasize that, again, you know, we're working closely with Doug and TAMC on all this. As far as the signal timing goes, that just was implemented Monday. You know, we're looking to the next 3 weeks really to evaluate it. And we've got some performance measures that we're kind of testing out to see how it's working. And again, working together, you know, with the idea, the concept of maybe the lane reduction. We still need to do our own investigation on that. I think I heard Doug say that the CHB is not necessarily in support of it. So that's the kind of stuff, you know, over the course of time that with our investigation and working with CHB and TAMC, you know, we'll continue to evaluate if that's feasible.
All right, thank you. See no other hands at the table at this time. I'm going to take this out for public comment. And I am going to, like last time, start with the folks who submitted cards, then we'll go to folks in the room, and then we'll go to Zoom. So starting with folks who submitted cards, I've got a card from Steve Greco. Steve? Unless I'm misreading that name. All right, maybe Steve stepped out. We'll go to Greg Galen.
Good morning. I would like to present to the board a petition regarding the Toro Park cut-through project that I brought with me this morning. This petition was only circulated to residents of the Toro Park community. As of today, it has 219 signatures asking that Torero be reopened as an exit to Toro Park. We ask the board to continue exploring solutions that better serve the entire Toro Park community. The road closure has created a hardship for the families that live on the west side of Toro Park. Like many families, my wife and I commute west every day. The 2.2 mile detour adds up to thousands of miles and dozens of hours of driving every year. The closure has also created its own safety hazards by increasing off-peak traffic on Portola. All the drivers who used to exit via Torero now use Portola to reach the ramp all day, every day. This adds risk to Toro Park School, pedestrian and bike traffic on Portola. In fact, there has been one vehicle pedestrian collision since the pilot project started. It may take Caltrans years to implement redesigning the merge. Leaving Torero closed for years is an unacceptable hardship to the residents of Toro Park. We ask that the board consider an interim solution. The goal for this solution is to reduce cut-through traffic without unfairly burdening the 170 households that are on the west side of Toro Park. We ask the board to reopen Torero now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denny. You can leave a copy with staff here. All right, I'm gonna go back and see if Steve Greco is with us. All right, seeing none, seeing he's not here, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm done with cards. So I'm gonna open it up to anybody else in the room who wishes to speak on this item. Now is the time to approach the dais. Do you have public comment on this item? No.
What's the cord? What's the cord?
My name is John Pinto. I live on Toro Court. It's great that's happened so far with the traffic. I fought it for many days while I was still working. It was very difficult. People would almost get in fistfights in the morning. The problem we have now, though, is that when we fix the bypass, the parents that are picking up their children have now merged into our neighborhoods. So if you go to my neighborhood, when school's out, an emergency vehicle will not get down to our own drive. It's impossible. You got cars on both sides of the street, pushed it down. I mean, you fixed one problem, but it's been pushed to our neighborhood. And that's something that has to be looked at also on that. You can't just, eliminate all the parking at the school and then push them all into our neighborhoods. Granted, it's for a short time, but it's every single day. Every day we have this problem. So that's something that needs to be looked at also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in room on this item? All right.
Chris?
Got one. Yeah, please.
Take the safe route.
He's doing the bypass.
My name's Nick Belly. I live on one of the streets that was most impacted by the bypass, Ferdinand Drive. We would get over 200 cars every morning speeding through our street, which really made no sense. I have 2 grandchildren living with me. It was dangerous for them to walk to the bus stops. I really appreciate what the county's done. It's really made a great difference. My wife taught at Sabanancha School for 38 years. This problem's been in place a long time. My daughter teaches at Sabanancha now. And it has affected her commute because she has had to change her route to school to go to the intersection, the Portola on-ramp. But it's actually cut her transit time by several minutes. So really, if nothing else happened, we would be happy. And I realize that that's not true for many people in other parts of Toro Park, but it has made a big difference. I want to thank the county.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Mike Fuller. We've lived in Toro for about 32 years. And I would just say my house was built in 1965, being part of the first development of the Toro Park region. And then it developed after that. The interchange was put in sometime before I moved in. The interchange fixed a problem that people would have to come out, cross traffic, get into a merge lane, much like making a left turn from Torero on 68. Very difficult. But they put the merge point between Portola and Torero. So that created an incentive for people to actually cut through the neighborhood, because that's when the traffic got set. So I would, I'm encouraged that we have solved this problem with the cut through traffic. I do think that there's a need still to really examine where the merge point could be. And, you know, it could be closer to San Venancio, but that's a lot of construction. Or it could be moved back closer to Salinas and allow, you know, transit vehicles to come in at River Road or Reservation Road, merge into that one lane of fast moving traffic, like we're gonna maybe do at Portola, fast moving traffic. And then that would actually solve the scene. So it's a large neighborhood. This has got a lot of people, you know, really satisfied, but I think we need to move further.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Anyone else in the room with comments on this item, please?
Good morning, my name's Terry Russell. I live in the questionable west end of Toro Park. I've been a part of this project from day one. I got involved with the HOA when we had a mother and a child get struck in front of the school. I'm a proponent of children. I grew up in Toro Park. My family's owned a house there since it's brand new in 71, 72. I grew up out there, and for lack of a better term, as children, we ran wild. We were safe, we were free to do what we wanted to do out there. And with this traffic and everything that's come since then, it's not a safe place for children. And that concerns me. There's a lot of words that have been used to describe me through the years, selfless and caring, may not be two of them. But in this case, the extra time it takes to go down, if it's non-traffic, it's 3 minutes in the loop. When traffic, it varies. But our children are safe. And I want to thank Doug, TAMC, this board, the county for getting involved in this and helping us move so quickly in a dire project. Our community needed this project, and we need to be a community and work towards finishing this. The inconvenience of having to drive around, you know, we all have to be inconvenienced. It's not just the West End, it's everybody out there. So I think it's less of an issue of an inconvenience and more of an issue of the safety of our children and ourselves out. And thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Anyone else in the room? Spend.
Mark Kennedy, 30-year resident, Toro Park. 30-year resident, Toro Park, homeowners board, current president of the CSA 15 county service area. Whatever that gentleman said right there, yes. Amazing work by the county. My faith in government is back. Appreciate it.
All right. Anybody else in the room? Okay, seeing no one else in the room at this time, we'll go to Zoom. I'm gonna go to you, Mr. Meyer, Bob Meyer. You've got to unmute yourself, Mr. Meyer.
I am Bob Meyer. I've lived in the community since 1979. I live on one of the bypass roads adjacent to Portola, and that's Capote Drive. Every morning I have the opportunity to look out my bathroom window upon Highway 68. So I have a visual observation about the problems that we've had here for over 35, 40 years. First of all, thank you, Doug, for helping us out in our community. It's nice to see government coming down to the grassroots and doing things for people who need it most. My position is very simple. Your goal is to stop the bypass traffic from coming through Toro Park. That has been done successfully. There are some inconveniences that are caused because of that, but those inconveniences are small in comparison to the safety and security that we have for the bypass traffic remaining on Highway 68. One member of your board mentioned that there might be some leniency here in allowing a 2-hour window in the morning for the westbound traffic to stay on 68 and open Torero. That would facilitate any inconvenience that others within the community would have. So I suggest that be looked at more diligently. The last point, move the merge towards Salinas, creating a problem at the Highway 68 overpass right now for people doing U-turns. Again, thank you for the safety and security in our community, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. We appreciate that. If there's anyone else via Zoom, now would be the time to use the raise hand function, *9 via landline in order to be recognized. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up from the call here. you're having trouble finding the raise hand function, go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know that. I'll make sure we don't miss anybody. Okay, hearing no one, see no hands up, we're gonna close public comment and bring it back to this board. I just want to call out that this was simply to receive a report. We're not taking any action today. But with that, I'm gonna look to Supervisor of the District, Mary Adams.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone can hear me. I just want to thank particularly John and Doug on this. I cannot tell you the challenges that have been presented over the years. And District 5 held several meetings trying to get things rolling, but everything changed when TAMC took the lead. And I am so very, very thankful for that. For us, I guess, wait a minute, I can look in the mirror and say, I'm really glad TAMC took the lead, because it really has made a huge difference. But what I really want to say as well is that there is no easy fix to this. But what has happened here is that we've had top-notch community people who have come together selflessly, giving their time, coming up with not what's best for me, but what's best for us. And you can really see it in the outcome of what you've been able to do. And I just wanted to, acknowledge it's not a perfect solution yet, but everybody's willing to work on it. And I'm thankful even for the people who do not agree with it. But again, once again, people had their voices heard. To have X number of people sign a petition is an important thing. And that I know that TAMC and Caltrans will take a look at that. It's all part of finding the solution. And I think as we just strive for success, I really want to give a special shout out to Doug and to John for working together so well, and to the community itself. So it was really tough trying to get anything going, but you guys have succeeded, and I'm very thankful for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your work. My personal opinion would be to stay the course on what you're doing, and with time, the culture will change so that everyone is actually very supportive of the project. I bring that up because in my district, I have a long-standing neighborhood that was there many, many years ago. And then we had a new development, not so new now, but about 30 years ago, Creek Bridge being built. And so the Village Heights neighborhood and the Creek Bridge neighborhood have two barriers that separate them, like physical, actual wooden barriers. And the residents there are very serious, don't touch that barrier. And that was done so that the cars would not be driving at fast speeds in those neighborhoods. And when we were doing construction on Independence Boulevard, we had to temporarily move those barriers. And every day I got calls from the residents, when are you gonna put those barriers back? And so to this kind of project, I think that with time, the residents will fully embrace it and actually demand that you not ever move it ever again. So I think it's a good idea. But overall, just to point out the elephant in the room, in that this is all unfortunately a band-aid to a much larger issue, which is the need for housing to be built. And I know our partners in the peninsula are certainly doing their fair share, but always need to bring that up again. This is really what's driving this kind of issue in our neighborhoods. It was never meant for this amount of traffic. So, but thank you for your work.
All right, anybody else on the board?
Just a final comment. I neglected to thank two additional people that I really want to. One is Chief Sargente.
Oh, hi, I'm.
Can we go ahead and mute Mr. Rosen? Mr. Rosen, great, we got you. Go for it, Mary.
Okay, I
Chief
just wanted to
Sargente.
thank Chief Sargenti from the Monterey County Regional Fire District, who's also really helpful, and Jessica Medueno from the California Highway Patrol. And my kudos, I wanted to make sure I added that. Thanks.
Agreed. Jessica Madueno is a rock star.
She is indeed.
I'll third that one, a Soledad resident. Great. Hey,
Real quick, in future presentations, I do look forward to hearing what the other options would be in terms of the temporary closure and then the permissible right-hand turn. I know that that's not something that we're ready to make any decisions about, but I would look forward to seeing, we call it a bus gate, but I look forward to seeing more details on that and whether we can get the CHP for support on that. So I look forward to hearing more details about that, because the West End is impacted. And I think it's important not to bypass their interests and their needs closer to where they live. Thanks.
all right. With that, we're going to consider this report received. Thank you very much, Doug. And I think the next one, are you giving the kickoff for that one too? You sticking with the Doug White show?
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna go to item 7, an update on the US 101 SOS project.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to me anymore, so. His next project, though, it kind of keys off, you know, we made big decisions, they're difficult, but I want to share with you, or we're gonna hand off the presentation to Caltrans. We want to show you what the big decisions that we made very quick, very recently, and how we got there. So Meg Harris, project manager from Caltrans on the US 21 South Salinas project.
Good morning, everyone. Doug and I decided you might want to change from his voice, so I offered to step in for this particular item and share the update. Perhaps we'll step back in at the end and go ahead with me. So let's progress here. Again, my name is Meg Henry. I'm the project manager for the Highway 101 South of Salinas Corridor Improvement Project. And I've been working with Doug on this project for about a year now. So I've been in this position about a year. So thank you again for having us today. We were here 2 months ago giving you a presentation about this project, and we've done quite a bit, we think, in the last 2 months. So we thought we'd come back and share with you our progress and tell you a little bit more about the project and what's going on and what we're currently up to. So this is just sort of a summary of what I was going to talk about. So I think most people recall our presentation from 2 months ago, but I'll spend just a moment reminding you about the purpose and need of the project and also the scope. Then we'll talk about our recent actions, what we're doing this week, in fact, today and tomorrow, in terms of the notice of preparation and scoping meetings we'll be holding, and then a little bit about next steps. So I think it goes without saying that there is a safety concern in the Highway 101 South of Salinas corridor between Chular and Salinas. And this is a graphic that we showed 2 months ago when we shared with you. This is the extent of the project area. The project area, let's see, red dot.
It doesn't go on there, sorry.
Okay, alrighty, that's neat. So this project area extends from Chular at the south end up to about Airport Road at the north end of the project, and it's addressing the 11 unsignalized at-grade intersections, and those are shown with the gray dots. It's also addressing the railroad crossings, which are shown with the black X's and the red X's. The purpose of the project is to address those at-grade cross-median turning movements through those 11 intersections, and to also address the crossings at the at-grade railroad crossings and the current vehicle use across those crossings. And in a broader sense, as part of addressing all these safety concerns, the goal is to provide safe and adequate circulation for all adjacent lands, all existing land uses, and all users in the area. So project improvements, generally speaking, we are studying, constructing a new relocated interchange for Abbott. Currently, we have the left on, left off ramp at Abbott. We're looking at reconstructing the Abbott interchange. We are also looking at relocating and reconstructing the Chular interchange. And then along with those new interchanges would be local roads that would connect them on both the west and the east side of Highway 101 through the project corridor. And incorporating some level of access control, in other words, reducing the amount of ingress and egress directly on and off of the main line of the highway. So outreach, what we've been doing extensively, I would say, especially the last 6 months, but certainly the last year that I've been on the project, is talking to people. And starting about 6 months ago with a meeting that we had in Chular, which I would consider to be very successful, and Supervisor Lopez was there to help us with it. I mean, we have begun really intensive engagement with the stakeholders in this project area. So we went to the community of Chular and we sat down with folks. We did a presentation to them. We had a lot of ears in the room. We dialogued. It was a bilingual meeting. Spent a lot of time talking with that community and trying to get a better sense of what that community's needs were. And we got some really clear messaging, which was really helpful to us in our goal this past year of trying to better define the alternatives that we're studying in our environmental review process. We've also talked with the city of Salinas. We're in close contact with County of Monterey, especially the Public Works Department. We've sat down a couple different times and met with the Ag Land Trust to understand their perspective on protecting ag land. We've had multiple meetings with the Traffic Safety Alliance, mostly hosted by the Farm Bureau. We've, within that group, and then separately too, engaged with both CHP and fire. And I would consider that all of those meetings have been really productive to our group. They've really informed us and helped us to continue to identify the constraints on the various options that we were looking at for the project and sort of narrowed down on what the alternatives will be that we will in fact be studying in our EIR. Just some pictures, because everybody likes a few pictures. See us in action. You can see Doug there chatting with some property owners. We are really committed to engagement on this project, and we're so committed that we get down on the floor sometimes and even hike through secret tunnels that are underneath the 101. I don't know how many of you know about the secret tunnel from Eckhart Seed, but we thought it was cool. And we actually went back to some documents from the 50s that were written about this tunnel. We actually went through our Caltrans magazine and found some documentation to get the origin on that tunnel, which was in fact used to convey agricultural products, seeds, beans, etc., over to the old rail siding on the other side. So fun sidebar there. All that to say, we've been getting out in the field. We've had a lot of successful meeting. I can't say that we've engaged with every single property owner out there, but we are trying. We've sent multiple letters out to folks. We've met people at their properties. We've talked about different concerns. And as you all know, sometimes this person's concerns are 180 degrees opposite of that person's concerns. So we're taking all that into note and really thinking about how to come up with alternatives that we can study that make the most sense for the needs in the corridor. So things we've heard, and I think Doug may have shared a little bit of this last time when we were sort of in the middle of our outreach process. So you've I think, seen some of this list again, but folks out there really want a long-term plan, and that's what this project is working on. Prime ag land is very important. We know that. We're thinking a lot about that and how to find solutions while minimizing and also protecting the precious ag land in Salinas Valley. We need to make sure that every property continues to have access and that the existing land uses can continue to operate smoothly and easily, residents, businesses, and so on. The existing interchanges, one of the things that's really come to mind is that it would be greatly impactful for us to close the existing Chular interchange or Abbott ramps during construction. And that's part of what's influenced our decision about the alternatives that we're going to study that I'll share a little bit more about in a moment. Airport Boulevard interchange is an issue. This project is a safety project. It wasn't originally developed particularly for Airport Boulevard, but that's something that's been brought to us in numerous conversations that we've had, and it's something that we're aware of and that we're thinking about. And then the relocation of the interchanges. When we talked to the community of Chular, what we heard from them was that they'd like to regain their community. And by that, I mean, they have a lot of trucks going through their community right now. There's a lot of dust, there's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of noise. And as with the conversation at Torero and the bypass, you know, there's children in that neighborhood and they want a feeling of community. So relocating Chular, but keeping it as close as possible to that community and making sure that community is still connected. So that's something, as we've been looking at how to do that, we've been thinking a lot about how do we get the interchange out of town, but keep it really close to town and make sure the community is still connected. And then relocating the Abbott interchange closer to Airport Boulevard. This is an image of Airport Boulevard up here in South Salinas. And then it looks like when I wiggled things around on this slide yesterday, it switched slightly, but this is Harris Road right here. And all this to say that the Salinas Ag Industrial Center is now probably going to be referred to as possibly the Amazon Center. And it's our understanding that Amazon has purchased the west half of that property and is looking to develop a distribution facility there. So we are aware of that and what that means to that area of the 101 that's circled in green. I think you've seen this graphic as well, and I just thought I'd perpetuate it in the slide deck just to say that these two first items, assessing needs and identifying concepts with a red circle around them and seeking public input, that's where we've heavily been focused for this last year is looking at the needs. And part of that has been all of the extensive outreach that we've done with the public for the last year and especially the last 6 months to really understand needs and from a variety of different stakeholders. And then now starting to move into the next stage of the project, which is preliminary design and environmental review of alternatives. Oops, I might have double clicked. No, we're okay. Okay, so this map is a modified map. I think we might have shared this at the last meeting, but we've actually modified this one a little bit more. When we met with you 2 months ago, we were still in the midst of a lot of engagement with stakeholders and property owners. And this map had 3 Abbott alternatives, A3, 4, and 5 were all blue at that time. And that's because we were still trying to define and understand what made the most sense for a relocated Abbott interchange. Now, we had already reviewed pretty carefully A1 and A2 and come to the conclusion that we wouldn't consider those further, mostly because there would be an extensive traffic impact if we had to close the Abbott ramp during construction for 1.5 or perhaps even 2 years. And that would really impact other parts of Salinas. So those 2, 1 and 2, have been removed from consideration for some time. But as we've gone through the engagement for the last 2 months, what we've narrowed down to is that A4 makes a lot of sense. And we took into account a lot of input from the property owners in that area, the businesses in that area. We actually, at one point, our team called the soil conservation folks and got special mapping created for us so that we could look really closely, because what we came to learn is prime ag. There's prime and then there's prime and prime. So we looked really closely at that. And then we actually did some more 2D design work up at A5 and evaluated the challenges of being less than a mile from airport. And all of that led us to land on A4 as a location for a relocated Abbott interchange. Down at Chular, we had originally looked south of Chular. There's a lot of environmental difficulties because of the Chular Creek and the wetland area there. And so then we looked at, and that was noted as C0. We also looked at C1, which is rebuilding in place, and came to the conclusion after talking to the community that there were a number of reasons why it made sense to go just north of Chular, but as close as we can with a feasibly good design. So that's the direction that we're headed there. So what we'll be studying in our environmental review process, we have 2 basic alternatives that we intend to look at. The first is what we're calling a full build freeway condition. And what you can see here is we have the relocated Chular interchange, we have a relocated Abbott interchange, and then we have frontage roads on both the east and west side of Highway 101. All intersections are closed, and there is no access directly onto the main line. If you are at any one of those properties, either on the west side or the east side, you would have access to the frontage road, and then you would be able to travel up or down on that one of those frontage roads to either the Chular interchange or the Abbott interchange. Our second alternative is what we're calling a hybrid expressway condition. So fairly similar, still shows the relocated interchanges in the C2 and A4 position. But in this alternative, we are not doing full access control on the highway. There would still be, as denoted by the yellow arrows, some locations, two local roads, Potter Road and Esperanza, as well as two driveways where drivers could still turn, make a right hand onto the highway or a right hand off of the highway. So there'd be no left turn movements through all of these alternatives. The center median of the highway is closed. So the center median of the highway is closed in the hybrid expressway condition, but the right in, right out access would remain south of Spence Road on the east side. So what's happening this week? We have been, it's been like a little running on a hamster wheel down in our office for the last few weeks, trying to get all of our graphics ready, posters and information and handouts and sign-in sheets. And we're really excited because we're actually this afternoon having the first of 2 notice of preparation meetings here in the community. So today's notice of preparation meeting is being held at the Ag Center, the Ag Commissioners Meeting Room this afternoon from 4 to 7. And then tomorrow we will have a bilingual meeting at Schular School, and Supervisor Lopez, I believe, will be there with us and helping to host that. So we'll be holding basically the same meeting both days. We do plan to have translators there today as well, and want to make sure we're fully covering equity and any Spanish speaking stakeholders that we have today. So we do have translators available both days, and we have all of our exhibits translated into Spanish for our meeting tomorrow. So the project, because of its complexity, it will be preparing environmental impact report. And as part of the environmental impact report process, our team is required to notice the preparation of that report. So we have mail notices out, we have email notices out to politicians, to regulatory agencies, to property owners. We've also extensively noticed this meeting to the public. It was in the newspaper. We did sort of an email chain. We asked people to post it up on their social media. So we're hoping we have really good coverage and really good turnout at the meeting. But the intent of the meeting is to introduce the project and the alternatives being considered. So what I just shared with you. To provide an opportunity for the public to give us comments about the scope of the project, especially what we will be studying for environmental review. And there will be an opportunity to give oral comments to our environmental coordinator this afternoon. There will be an opportunity to give written comments, and we will be taking comments through mid-November. And there is opportunity to either mail or email comments to our senior environmental coordinator as well. So, and that information will all be available at the meeting. And it's also available on the project webpage, which is within the District 5 projects webpage. So if you go to Caltrans District 5 and search current projects, it's sorted by county, and within the list for Monterey County, there is a link for this project. And on that link, you can find the actual notice, and you can also find the contact information if you would like to email or hard copy mail comments to us. So, and then we'll also be informing the public just about the draft environmental document preparation process and the timeline for the environmental review process. So a little bit more about that. Next steps. So we're here today and for the next few weeks into mid-November in the notice of preparation and scoping public comment period. As part of that, we will be really kicking off into our full environmental studies. We sent out a request for permission to enter to property owners within the project area last year. We had a fairly good response to that. We'll be sending out a second letter to those we didn't hear from and hoping to get permission to maybe just access a small portion of some properties where we perhaps will have frontage roads. So we'll be sending out the letter for that soon. And then we'll get into full swing on conducting our environmental studies. And that will happen basically for the next year and a half, depending on the study. Some will come in faster than others. And ultimately in, we hope spring of 2026, we will be circulating a draft environmental documents. And we will receive comments. There will be opportunities and meetings to comment on that draft document when it's published. And then eventually we'll come to an environmental document. Right now, our target is late spring of 2027. Once we hit a certified environmental impact report, then we'll move into our design phase. And right now, with design and acquisition, because we do need to acquire, especially from Union Pacific Railroad, which is a fairly involved process, we're anticipating about 3.5 years for that, with a phased construction start in 2031. And lastly, this is a segue over to another project that is dovetailing with, if you will, with our larger long-term project. And that is Caltrans has very recently initiated a safety project. And that safety project is coming as a result of recommendations made by a reactive safety study that was conducted by District 5 as a requirement through our headquarters safety monitoring program. So when a segment of highway has fatal or serious injury collisions that are above statewide average, it triggers into a study. That study was recently completed, and there's been a recommendation to activate a safety project that would come in conjunction with but sooner than the longer term project. So we are initiating that now. We are in what is called the initiation phase, and we are working on a project initiation document. So we intend to go through the initiation process. We've just got our team together. We're evaluating a schedule, we're evaluating the scope, but more or less it's a median closure within this project area. And we expect to have a full scope defined and a schedule for the timeline of that safety project by January of 2025. But it is our intent that it will be consistent with this longer coming project that we are studying through the IR process right now. And with that, we'll open it up to any questions anyone has.
Thank you, Meg. Questions on the board? That was very thorough report, Supervisor Little.
More of a comment. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, because I know this is it continues to be a very challenging area, but I appreciate all the staff and Supervisor Lopez having many meetings on this. I think that's the right way to approach it, to provide plenty of opportunities to provide impact, get property owners acclimated about what the plans are and hopefully get their buy-in eventually. But I was just coming from a county association a few days ago from San Luis Obispo. And it was a reminder that the trucks continue to dart across, and they're big trucks that carry a heavy load, and they take quite some effort to move a truck of that size, and all the cars came to a halt. So I just thought of Chris and all this effort as all our cars came to a quick stop. And I appreciate the timeline provided. It's not a very quick process. Just on the environmental review or the design is taking us to 2031. And I remember when we were talking about the widening of 156 in San Juan Bautista to Hollister, that started in 2011, and groundbreaking just started last year. And it's underway, but it takes many years. On the funding side though, how much funding do we have, does Caltrans have to get us beyond the environmental review phase? And will we see efforts to fund the actual construction? Will that be ongoing now? Because the state's in a pretty dire financial situation with its deficit. But I know these efforts and requests for funding will take some time to actually acquire the construction funding.
Yeah, our strategy is to get the environmental work done and the project shovel ready for SB1, the next phase, or the next cycle for SB1 funding. And I believe we have enough for a matching fund. Matching funds are, the more you have, the better it is. But we'll have some funds left remaining for matching funds, but not enough to construct the project, obviously. So that's our goal, is to get this environmental work done, everything ready for the next SB1 cycle.
So the project is currently funded through the engineering phase, and we need to fund the right of way and the construction process.
And can I just I'll add on a little bit. I just want to say, generally speaking, it's our intent to continue on with really robust engagement on this project. And I'm optimistic that by doing that and really listening to folks now and really engaging with folks, that we'll have a lot of strong support. Also, we have the legendary story of the CTC bus ride. So I think maybe some of you heard that at our last meeting, but just tell it again really quick. When the CTC was here in June, TAMC and Carl set up a bus tour of various projects in the area. And sure enough, because I was on the bus, we were driving north on 101, and we got to Spence, and a truck did just what you said. It shot right in front of the bus, and the bus slammed on the brakes, and everybody sort of jerked forward, and we had a moment. But it was very visceral. So perhaps as we move along here, that'll stay in folks' near-term memories. Remember that.
Yeah, and I just want to say, maybe Carl will add MST now because we have so many people, an increase in ridership on MST that Carl and staff have had to add more lines. Was it line 21? 23 from King City to Salinas. Had to, I think, double the buses so that because the buses weren't getting full and people were holding on to the stanchion, and it was because of the situation, it was, if something were to happen, you know, it would be more dangerous. So they've had to adjust how the lines and the amount of buses there due to the increase in ridership.
Yes, and that, I'll just add again, I just want to go back to the safety project. That is why the safety project has been initiated, because of just what you're describing and you know, the experience that the CTC had that day. I mean, not triggered by them specifically, but by our monitoring of the collisions through the area, and the need to look at a sooner action, but that will go in coordinated effort with the long-term project.
Yeah, just to speak to that, MST did experience some years ago a agricultural vehicle pulling out and striking an MST bus, resulting in a handful of our passengers being removed from the side of the freeway by emergency medical vehicles to the injuries they sustained. And due to that, we've recently had an influx of from the community colleges and state colleges, 30% increase in enrollment this past year. And we noticed in August, like Doug mentioned, with school coming back in on Highway 68, we saw the same surge in ridership along our buses, especially on line 23. And while the state does not have a prohibition against folks standing on buses on state highways, and many of our peers allow it in those peer agencies, say along the 880, 680, Highway 99, those roads all have closed access to the freeway. And so MST will be advocating for the option that closes access to the freeway and requiring everyone to come out safely via a controlled ramp, because this is one of our busiest routes and we can't have our passengers hurtling through the bus in the event of an accident, as you experienced while you were seated. Imagine standing and that. So this is going to be a very expensive solution for MST for the immediate future. And we'll be looking at other options to increase capacity on the bus, including double-decker buses or longer articulated buses along Highway 101 over the next decades as this gets built. So, but it is a priority safety issue for folks who are dependent on transit or in their own personal vehicles. Thank you.
All right, let's take this out for public comment. Any public input on this side?
Yes, Mr. Peterson. Lead us up to there.
Good morning. My name is Eric Peterson, and I would like to know, my questions concern bicycle facilities, bicycle access. And I'm thinking about several things. I've still got a friend who used to be a professional bicycle racer. For training, he rode from Santa Cruz to King City through this area. His wife would pick him up. Another friend of mine who's on the bicycle facilities advisory committee was stopped by highway patrol when he was on 101 legally. I've seen groups there. I've been on 101, but not that section. And there will be some local riders there. There will be some like us who I would characterize as a lunatic fringe, but there needs to be something. And I'm kind of getting the feeling the frontage roads are going to be actually more of an adventure than riding on 101 itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Is anyone else in the room? Not seeing anybody, I'll go to Zoom. Ask folks to use the raise hand function. Seeing no hands up going up via Zoom, I'll close public comment, bring it back. I want to thank you, Meg, and your entire team for putting this presentation together. And I know that we're going to be in Chular tomorrow. I want to thank my staff who walked the entire community yesterday and delivered flyers to every single door and made sure that a copy of the flyer got into every backpack at the school as well. We're trying to make sure that everyone knows that we're engaging with them as much as possible as we go through this. I do want to point out, as we look at some of those interim solutions, they will have an impact on the community of Chular, specifically talking about closing those crossings. But anybody who needs to get to Salinas coming off the west side is gonna have to go south. Those trucks are gonna be cutting through the community of Chula, right? And that impact is gonna be significant for a community who is working class, who doesn't have the opportunity to show up to a lot of our meetings. So I hear it as their voice with that concern that arose through the process as well. I just want to call out that I know that that's not going to happen immediately. We're starting through that analysis, but I know that I hope that that really spurs us to move. I know we're going as quickly as we can, but even more expeditiously down the path of bringing the long-term solutions to community, especially with the big proposed changes there at the, we'll call it the Amazon site for these purposes, knowing that there's going to be a lot of left-hand exits and new trucks trying to merge from the left side going south as well. It will have an impact. And so although all that is to say, thank you for helping move this project. The community has highlighted this as a key concern, and you've heard their concerns, making some of those changes like the interchange moving just slightly north of Chular, much like the Torero project we just heard about. It's similar in that folks said, well, I'm gonna have to drive an extra minute. And they thought about it even during the meeting, and folks came back for a second bite at the apple and said, I'm okay with that. Let's do that. That's a better option. And one partner that was missing on your list that you also engaged with, and I want to make sure you get credit for, is the school board. They showed up to the school board as well and made a presentation there so that they would understand that this project has a long-term benefit for the community. So thank you for those efforts.
Thank you for raising those concerns. I think it's critical that as Salinas grows, we remain a regional partner with our surrounding communities, especially as it relates to the growth of the Ag Industrial Center. So please count on the city of Salinas to support, in these kind of regional bodies to make sure that communities impacted will have the support they need. It's critical that we don't disproportionately impact other communities around us as we grow. Thank you for raising.
Thank you. And one final point before I close this item, seeing no other hands, I want to just throw out one more. Meg mentioned that the community was concerned about dirt on the streets, right? Specifically, they're an ag-based community, so there's a lot of trucks that go through town already. I want to throw a shout out to MBART. I'm not sure if we've got a rep online, but just a week ago, was that right, Supervisor Alejo? We at MBART approved the first electric street sweeper. The county does not own street sweepers. We applied for a grant through MBART and got the first one. It's to address dirt on the streets at San Lucas, San Ardo, and Chula. So now we will own one. It will be electric, and it is targeted at these communities who've been calling for that change in their communities. So part of the solution, and thank you for engaging with farmers in the surrounding area as well. I know you've engaged with them about the dirt on the streets for that community. So much appreciated. Doug, final thoughts?
Yeah, one thing that's important about this is a lesson learned on Highway 68 is when people said, did you study this? Did you study that? So one thing we want to focus on this is we've made decisions. That's how you get a project going. That's how you get momentum. We've taken out of consideration all the A1, A2, A3, A5, C1, C0. Those are decisions. We are moving forward. And so we will have a section in the environmental document that says why did we take that out? But right now is to validate that. So, it's now's the time, to say, okay, I understand, that we are not looking at that and the documentation will be supporting it. But that's something we learned at 68. We want to make sure that it's done in a public meeting, that you validate the work that we've done and acknowledge the momentum that we have going forward now because of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. With that, we'll consider the report received and march forward on our agenda. Sticking with the theme of Caltrans Day, we're going to go to John, see if there's any updates from Caltrans today.
Thank you. Appreciate being here again. John Olenek, Caltrans District 5. Just a couple of things I want to mention. The latter being one I want to spend a little more time on, but the first one being we are in the season we're about to release information about the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant, the next round. And so in preparation for that, we've been holding a series of workshops for our partners. And I think there was one that happened this morning. There's one that's going to be happening in early November. So just to announce to everyone to have it on their mind and keep their eyes open for a press release related to the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program coming up. The second item that I wanted to mention, a little more, I guess, meaty, if you will, behind it, is I think we're all aware of the eucalyptus grove that exists on Highway 101 around the Rock Short area, north of Salinas, north of Brundale, San Benito County, technically right around in the area. Well, those over the last few months, we've been doing a very serious look at all those trees, and there are many of them that are diseased. Many of them have fallen. we've been working hard to put together an emergency project to be able to do a removal effort. So that started a few months ago. We went through the environmental process. We did some initial outreach to some folks. And so we are at the point of getting ready to initiate this project. So we are hoping, we are going to start this project Sunday, November 3rd. And it is going to be a very complicated project because of the location of the trees on either side of the lanes and in the median. And you can only imagine the work of trying to fell trees of this size in moving traffic. So at this point, what we're looking at is we're gonna take, and it always takes, you get into a rhythm when you start a new project anyway. So as we're gonna start with a single lane closure on the southbound side. So there'll still be one lane open, but with a single lane closure, even at night, there will still be, traffic impacts. We'll be utilizing the support of CHP along the way. So that will start, there'll be a press release coming out, hopefully if not today, then tomorrow on this as well. As the work gets started and as we figure out the operations, learn a few things along the way. Again, you get into your rhythm with a project like this with our contractor. We hope that that's all we'll need to do. But we might have to have times where, because of a tree in a particular area close to the lanes, there might be time we have to do a traffic break with CHP to bring a tree down and drag it out. So that would cause a full stop of traffic in southbound. And by the way, when we finish southbound, we're going to then turn around and do the northbound side as well. So the same type of operation. So something to potentially expect along that way. What we hope it doesn't get to, but again, we'll have to see as we get into it, is we might have to reserve the time to maybe do a full closure. And this would be all night work to do a full closure and I mean, the impact of that is just, it's big when we really think about it. We're going to do our best to not have to get that far, but it is something that might happen. If that occurs, of course, we'll be working really hard on all the messaging, getting advanced warning and signs to our neighboring districts, the CMS signs, in addition to our specific outreach. But I just want to take a moment today and just let everyone in this room know, as Supervisor Church and I have been talking about it as well, that because of these trees and the safety concern, and we want it to be safe for our workers as well. So I just want to make that announcement today. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, John. I'm gonna go to the Monterey Peninsula Airport.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Thank you. Very good meeting today. Yeah, we continue with our ramp modifications and parking lot. We hope to soon start with the new terminal. You can follow our progress at montereyairport.com. And it's been said earlier today, but fly Monterey. Thank you.
That's right. All right, we're gonna proceed with Mr. Stork, MST.
You heard my two update items in my earlier comments, Monterey MST subsidized van pool program and no standees on the line 23. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna go to Embark. I see Dave Frisbee with us. You're muted, Dave. So close.
All right, got it. Thanks. Yeah, we've opened up our diesel engine equipment exchange or replacement program. We offer up to $150,000 for replacement of off-road equipment. Mostly it's tractor replacement, so old, dirty, smoking diesel tractors for newer, cleaner tractors. So we'll offer $150,000 for that. So that program's open now. We took to our board the motor vehicle emission reduction grant program. The projects in Monterey County that were approved by our board last month or earlier this month were multi-use path planning and development for Sand City. The electric street sweeper that Supervisor Lopez mentioned earlier for San Lucas. A charge station for the corporation yard for the city of Monterey and Ryan Ranch, and then several electric vehicles for Monterey Airport, Meals on Wheels, City of Monterey, Washington Union School District, and the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority. We have opened up our CAP workshops. That's our community air protection program. We've got 3 workshops coming up. That starts Monday at the Marina Library at 10:30 a.m. On Tuesday at 10:30 at the Salinas Ag Commissioner's office. And then Wednesday we'll have a workshop online. And that program is for listening and discussing different project types that are available, including tractor replacements, electric vehicle infrastructure, zero emission school buses, air filtration and furniture replacement in schools, and community greening projects. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. I'm gonna open this up, see if there's any public input on our partner reports. Seeing no one in room. Seeing no hands up via Zoom. I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment, bring it back, Supervisor Leonard.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with Caltrans. You said the work to remove the eucalyptus starting on November 3rd. How long do you expect that to continue to finish time?
Thank you. Good question. At this point, I think our estimate is somewhere around 35 working days. We of course are working to get ahead of the winter, the rains and the wind. So as we start work, we'll get our feeling of how it's gonna go. We're collaborating with the contractor. Today is there's still conversations, tomorrow still conversations. So that's our goal, about 35 working days. And hopefully we can stay with the lane open, but as mentioned, there might be scenarios where there's time we have to do a full closure.
Right. Well, if there's heavy traffic without a lane closure, and if you go complete closure, I mean, it's gonna really create chaos on the highway. So but I know it needs to get done. One of Chris's constituent passed away a couple of years ago. One of those trees fell on a young man from Gonzales. So it needs to get done for safety reasons, as you all know. And I know Supervisor Church's constituents some are advocates for eucalyptus trees, but this is one of those where safety should come first. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else on this item?
Just briefly, just want to thank you for the work there. It's we raised all the important issues, and it's an issue that has widespread support. Dealing with these trees, they're just not fire hazards. We can see what happened over here. They're hazards that kill people, fall on cars, destroy property. And they're essentially fauna and flora deserts, essentially, unless you love poison oak. It's the only thing that seems to thrive under them.
All right, seeing no other comments, just concur. Thank you for that work. There was a young man who left behind two very young children, and it was a tragic loss for our community. So appreciate your work to get rid of those trees once and for all through that stretch. With that, we'll close that report and move forward with reports from board members on meetings attended at agency expense. Mayor Farr.
Yes, attended the rail conference in San Diego from the 9th to the 11th. Very good conference, and there was representatives from the states, Union Pacific, Amtrak. So it was very productive.
I was on the same trip with Mike. He was through with his system native sheets.
Great. Anybody else? Any public input on this item? See no one in room, no hands up via Zoom. We'll conclude item 9 and proceed to the executive director's report. Todd.
Thank you. Yesterday, I got one of those phone calls that you love getting in my position, and that Chad Edison, the deputy secretary at CalSTA, the California State Transportation Agency, called me to let us know that we're being recommended for a $63 million grant, which is with our partnership with our coastal partners, San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties. There's 4 projects, and in Monterey County, $25 million is set aside for the King City Station. So this is a huge win for our partnership and for rail along the corridor, and this will allow King City to move forward with the first phase of the project. So that was very exciting. There will be formal announcements on Friday with the governor doing a presentation for a project, I believe, in Tulare County. So we're going to wait and do a press release after that's been done. On the more mundane news, we did send out reminders for the Measure X letters to jurisdictions that the annual reports are required by the end of December, as they are every year. And if jurisdictions would like any review or assistance from TAMC staff, they need to get a draft to us in the beginning of December. So we're available to do that if it's needed. And then finally, we do not have a November board meeting, and our next TAMC meeting is December 4th.
All right, any,
Could I jump in on this? The board of supervisors having a meeting December 4th. We're having a 2-day meeting, the 3rd and the 4th. And I believe you know, to have a quorum, you have to have one supervisor here. You have to have two?
We have alternates.
Okay, we could send our alternates in, but okay, that would be the option. You're not gonna, I don't think you're not gonna have an actual member of the board here at that time.
Okay.
we'll look at it. I mean, depending on how we're doing too, because I know that's kind of a flexibility, right?
Well, we're pretty full.
Pretty full?
We're full.
All right.
We'll drive on.
We appreciate your sacrifice, Mayor Oglesby.
Probably like,
All
9 o'clock to
right.
10 o'clock.
Anyone else? Seeing on any public comment on the executive director's report? No one in room, nobody via Zoom. I'll go ahead and close that. And then at this time, I'm gonna turn and see if there's any announcements from members. Hearing silence, seeing silence, we'll continue with our public comment on closed session. And yes, I can see silence. That's a leading scoop. So real estate negotiations, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, we're gonna confer with real property negotiators concerning the disposition of agency-owned property, being the Monterey branch line. And we're also going to, under item 2, enter into potential litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. The board will confer with legal counsel regarding one matter of potential initiation of litigation. At this point, as we have with other public comment, I'm gonna lead off with cards that I have pre-submitted, and then we will go to folks in room, then folks via Zoom. So starting with cards that I received, I'm gonna go with Kenneth Herman. Kenneth, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
The mic.
John. My name is Ken Herman, and I live in Marina. I'd just like to say that I'm opposed to the planned bus lanes to Marina Dunes. That strip of lands is precious. It won't be destroyed forever. Since the bus lane would be visible from Highway 1, it'll be a magnet for graffiti and just like the decommissioned water plant along the route. My wife and I occasionally ride the bus. There's really more than 4 people on board. I think the future bus lane, when it's actually needed, should be along Highway 1 and not through the pristine dunes. I think a far less ambitious project would be to remove all the abandoned shopping carts and trash along that line, the right of way, and along the recreation trail. Some have been there for months. I'd also like to say that I'd like to see the Marina handcars stay in their current location. There's very few attractions in the city of Marina, and the handcars are an asset. Before they made the improvements to that location, it was a weedy lot with abandoned cars. The handcar workers have removed lots of trash from the homeless camps along the trackway, and they keep the area looking good for tourists and locals alike. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Brian Jacobson next. Brian Jacobson. Currently headed down Portola, making all that. There we go.
Can't turn around.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It's been really interesting watching you hear reports and have thoughtful discussion about some really gnarly problems. I'm here to talk about the handcars. I'm asking you to allow the clerks to continue to use that track that they're using as they make improvements on the track from the library northward, which is where they would move to when they're no longer able to utilize the track that they're on south of Marina. Also, I would invite all of you to come out and have that experience. It's a really wonderful aesthetic experience getting to click clack along the rails in the open. And when the handcars are gone, you won't have the opportunity to have that experience there. It's a really rare and special thing to do. So come try it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Next we'll go to Mason Clark.
Careful of that flag.
Okay, hello, everybody. My name is Mason. I'm the co-owner of Handcart Tours, founder of Handcart Tours. It's a pleasure to be here to speak for the next minute. I actually drove from Los Angeles. I came up about 1 a.m. last night to be here to speak at this meeting. So I've dedicated over 10 years to creating this business. I came to this board back in 2019. Long process, but we initiated a trial concept of our great handcart tour idea. And ever since then, we've been a flourishing business in Marina. We've carried over 30,000 riders since we opened. We are next to the aquarium, probably the biggest attraction in Monterey County. The city of Marina, the residents, everybody's very proud to have us there. And moving forward, you know, in terms of the county as a whole, we bring tremendous economic benefit to all the cities in Monterey County, especially those seaside, Sand City, Marina, Pacific Grove, Carmel by the Sea, and Monterey that all border the peninsula. So we have a great asset there. Last year, we had over 50 million social media views on our very handcart tours, which has brought a tremendous amount of people to the Monterey area. So we have more benefit than just people running the tours. We bring people to Monterey to go eat at restaurants, stay in hotels, and that's a huge benefit. So I really hope you'll support our lease extension up until it's needed for surf. And in the meantime, we could prepare that track north. So when surf comes, we could be out of the way by then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mason. Anybody else in the room?
Line that color.
Okay, not seeing anyone in room. I'm gonna go online, see if there's anybody via Zoom who wishes to be heard.
Mike Mueller?
Mike, we see your hand up. We'll go ahead and give you the floor.
All right. Hello, thank you, TAMC Board of Directors. Thanks for taking my call. I'm writing today to express my thoughts on the importance of forgiveness, compromise, and collaboration as we continue to work together for the future of our community. As we all know, mistakes happen. None of us are immune to making them, but that's what truly defines us both as individuals and as a community. Our ability to forgive and move forward. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, it's a demonstration of strength, showing that we can rise above the past and focus on what is truly important, the future. By embracing forgiveness, we create space for compromise. True leadership requires us to find common ground, put aside differences, and to prioritize the best interests of all involved. This is especially crucial when it comes to decisions that affect the economic vitality of our region. One matter of particular importance is the handcar tours, which has become a vital part of our tourism industry. The company has brought character and excitement to our area, attracting visitors and contributing to the growth of our local economy. Losing this unique and valuable asset would be a significant blow, not only to the business itself, but to the region's tourism and historical appeal. I urge the board to consider the benefits the handcar tour brings to explore opportunities for compromise. By working together and finding solutions that allow them to continue operating, we can preserve a valuable resource for both our community and its visitors.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller, for your time. We appreciate your comment. I'm gonna go to Christina Medina Dirksen, former TAMC member.
Thank you, Chair, and all the leader members that are there. I miss you all. I just want to make sure that it's crystal clear. Thank you, Mr. Mueller, for speaking, by the way. You hit a lot of great points. This is not about the surf line, as the first person mentioned. This is about an opportunity to allow the rail car to operate and continue at its current place while the surf line is worked out, and perhaps an arrangement to move north, which will require a massive investment. I would like to recognize that in the beginning, this was an arrangement that was experimental and there was a lot of hesitation. But what has come from it has been an incredible opportunity for people of all abilities to experience our outside nature. We have walking trails and hiking, but this is an opportunity for people to get out and really experience the dunes. When we talk about a potential extension, perhaps money that has been paid by the Clark family, very hardworking family, might very well be invested back into exploring the extension to the north, because we know that's going to take a massive investment. As a body, I've always lauded you for compromise, for collaboration. Look at you, all the way from King City to Carmel. Where can we compromise? You do it in that room every day or every month. So I ask you to pivot. I ask you to consider this, keep an open mind, and I really appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I see a hand up from Mr. Little. Wesley Little, we'll go ahead and give you the floor.
Yeah, hi there. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right, perfect. So my name's Wesley Little. I actually live in Santa Cruz, but I commute to Marina every week as an employee at Handcar Tours. And I just wanted to come on and support Handcar Tours. You know, none of my opinions are endorsed by the Clark family, but solely based on my own personal opinion. Handcar Tours brings quite a bit of tourism and brings a lot of customers, not only to the Monterey area, but also to Marina. You know, Marina's a small town, and Handcar Tours has become such a large part of the community, and it would just be such a shame to see such a amazing business that the Clarks have built go away. So I really urge the board to support Handcar Tours. And, you know, we hope that we can work with you to figure out at least a lease extension until surf breaks ground and we can figure out a relocation area. Thank you.
Any other hands up, Maria?
No.
All right, seeing no more hands up, we'll close public comment. Bring it back. I did see a hand up from Mr. Sidoric. I'll go ahead and give you the floor.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As the item is going into closed session, as an ex officio member, I'm not allowed into closed session unless someone tells me different. I would just like to say that MST has worked collaboratively with TAMC, and even though we've had a tree permit for some time now, that's the ability to start pre-construction work in the corridor. We agreed with TAMC that we would wait for the lease to end naturally through the agreement that was made 2 years ago with the Handcars, so they were well aware when their business proposition was going to end. As mentioned by Mr. Olenek, Caltrans is doing other tree removal work right now. It's important for us to get out ahead of the weather. I am sitting on a quote today and plan to initiate tree removal work in the area of the Handcars and along the branch line starting in December, so that we can be done before January 30th to get ahead of the weather and to get ahead of various biological concerns related to nesting birds and bats. If this project goes beyond the end, tree removal goes beyond the end of January, this will delay MST by several months, costing the project hundreds of thousands of dollars, costing the taxpayers. So I urge this board to consider honoring the terms of the original agreement and allow MST to finally start work on this very important project. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. With that, we're going to go ahead and enter closed session. I do want to note that Eric Mora, representing Supervisor Askew, will be stepping out of the room as well. I want to note that for the record. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I just want a little clarification on what those costs are specifically that you're referring to, Carl.
Cost of delay to the project.
Can you break down why we would have those costs for the delay?
Inflationary costs related to delaying of construction projects and mobilizing the project. If we go beyond January 30th, we'd have to hire a biologist to review impacts on nesting birds and bats. So we are under pressure for those purposes to complete tree removal by January 30th. Then on top of the biological, it's just those cost delays that result in any construction project, prices only go up.
And you have it's somewhat of a closer cost, it's just a few $100,000.
Yes, those are the estimates that have been provided to us.
Do you have a number like 6?
I have a number of over $100,000 per month delay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then with that, we're gonna enter closed session. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. I know we're already over time. It's 11:38, so take 5 minutes for bio breaks or grabbing more coffee while staff changes the technology over for closed session. And all ex officio members and public to access the room.
It's not gonna take
Oh, yeah.
It was unfortunate. I remember that.
Yeah.
Look at how that worked.
Unfortunately, John didn't get it. I was hoping he would get
Yeah, I
it.
told you.
He's a native son, of Salinas. The best.
At this time, I'm gonna turn to council to see if there's anything to report out of closed session.
There's nothing to report out of closed session.
Okay, then at this time, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
That's it.
So, Priscilla tells me that all the time. Next one's gonna be easy.